Today, Donald Trump's former National Security Adviser H.R. McMaster said he now agrees that Donald Trump is, once again, trying to use Russian interference in the election to help him win.
I agree that he is aiding and abetting Putin's efforts by not being direct about this, right? By not just calling out Putin for what he's doing.
Here's more of what H.R. McMaster said about what Russia is trying to do to us right now.
You know, they spend about 80% of their effort dividing us further on issues of race, for example, and then also, though, on gun control or immigration. And so we have to be cognizant of this, and we need our leaders to help pull the curtain back on it, not aid and abet Putin by not calling him out on it or talking about other nations that are disrupting it, which they are. But Russia is the primary problem in this area.
Joining us now, Congressman Adam Schiff of California, the chairman of the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence. Chairman Schiff, what was your reaction to hear a former National Security Advisor of this president very plainly saying that Donald Trump is aiding and abetting Vladimir Putin?
Well, first, I was glad that he spoke out, and others need to as well. Those who work with Donald Trump and understand what a threat he poses to the country cannot, in good conscience, remain silent anymore. What he had to say, and bear in mind, this is the second National Security Advisor of the president after Bolton, to say the president can't be trusted to defend the country. The merits of what he's saying, that the president is aiding and abetting Putin, are sadly all too much on the mark. After all, Putin and Russia are intervening in our election right now. Right now, as people are voting, the Russians are interfering to try to help elect Donald Trump. And so discord, they're trying to amplify the president's false statements about whether we can trust the results of the election. And what is the president doing? He's still praising Putin and his relationship with Putin. There's a common denominator, Lawrence, between the two stories you just covered. The one about his inability to condemn and criticize the Proud Boys, and his inability to condemn and criticize Putin. Basically, it doesn't matter how despicable, it doesn't matter how damaging to our national security, and those white supremacist groups are a threat to our security. If they're for him, he's for them. And how can we have someone like that as our commander-in-chief?
What would you say to voters when they listen to you, they realize Russia's trying to interfere with their right to vote, with their ability to cast their vote, with the way they're going to cast their vote? What would you say to voters tonight about how they should approach voting this year?
Well, I would say this. It's the most important election you're ever going to participate in. So whether you decide to vote by mail, which is a safe and secure way to vote, especially during a pandemic, or whether you want to go into that voting booth, is less important than the fact that you vote. We're in the extraordinary circumstance right now where the Russians don't have to make stuff up anymore because the president is making it up. They just need to amplify the false statements. And right now they're amplifying the president's false claims about whether we can vote safely, whether we can vote accurately, whether the country is capable of holding an honest election. We can, you must. And we'll see our way through this. But that's what I would suggest. Get out and vote. Make sure your voice is heard. The president doesn't want you to vote, and neither do the Russians. Go ahead and prove them wrong.
And Chairman Schiff, your reaction to Hope Hicks testing positive for coronavirus tonight. She's been on Air Force One 4 flights just this week with the president. She's obviously very close to him in the course of the normal working day in the White House. And we just had Dr. Jar begin this hour by saying the president should quarantine. All the CDC guidelines say he's been exposed to coronavirus through Hope Hicks. He should quarantine.
Well, first of all, he should have never been put in this position. He should never put himself in this position. And if he were following the advice of experts, he would have maintained distance, he would have worn masks, and so would Hope Hicks. And this is tragic. As the president's own CDC director said, the simple act of wearing a mask may be as effective as a vaccine. But what's more, beyond the irresponsibility of potentially rendering the commander-in-chief unable to do his duties because he's too sick, You have the fact that both the president and Hope Hicks and everyone around them is setting such a terrible example for the country, such a mixed message where the scientists and epidemiologists, his own healthcare people are saying, wear a mask, keep your distance. And yet he and Hope Hicks and others are going to these rallies where people are not wearing masks, where indeed when organizers ask people to wear a mask at a Trump rally, they get booed. And you wonder why the virus is still raging throughout America and why we have some of the worst results in the world. So it's irresponsible when you're talking about the commander-in-chief to expose the commander to that risk, but also it's a terrible message for the country, and it's costing American lives.
Chairman Adam Schiff, thank you very much for joining us tonight. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Lawrence.